say, are coming to now and really focusing on as the next step in our evolution, that partnership. Been doing it for 50 years, and you've been leading that group here in Wisconsin. And a lot of the members that when I first got here, got to meet, are sitting here today, both to show support to Pardeep as well as to the events in the next 3 days to really commemorate what happened 10 years ago. You're also the co-founder of Serve to Unite, a proven means of establishing a healthy sense of identity, purpose, and belonging that drives young people from violent extremist ideologies, another strong aspect of what you do. You're a native of Punjab. You grew up in Milwaukee. As I said, you were a Milwaukee police officer, which I think gives him a real unique perspective on what it means to be a partnership and why that's so important. I couldn't ask for a better representative and a better partner, so again, thank you. You published a book, which I didn't know. I need a copy, a signed.
I got you.
All right, signed copy. The Gift of Our Wounds, as an intervention specialist and families of individuals involved in extremists. Again, something that goes to show that through tragedy, you can learn and you can provide that information to other people. He's also an award-winning columnist, if you didn't know that, a licensed clinician, focusing work with victims and preventing crime. And in the years since the attack, really has coalesced that relationship with law enforcement. And this is not something you see across the United States. In my previous job, one of the things I did is I evaluated all of the FBI field offices. I would send teams out and we would look at the office and how that office was doing. A main aspect of what we would do at each of the offices is look at the partnerships and how those existed. I was beyond pleasantly shocked when I got here and actually saw what already established. And as much as that's a relationship building on both sides, I would say it's more based on this group of individuals, which Pardeep is a leader of, that has allowed us to have such a strong relationship and continues to allow us to combat the extremists that we face across this country. So with that, I would ask everyone to please clap again for Pardeep. Thank you. And I should say, in typical government fashion, we give you a little piece of paper that says in recognition of your contribution, but I got something better too. So this one says, from the U.S. Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, in recognition of outstanding service to the local community and enduring contributions to the advancement of justice, the Director's Community Leadership Award is presented to Pardeep Khalif 2021 from Director Christopher Wright.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, I do get a nutcracker.
You have to have some hardware too. So, and again, this basically says the same thing. Director's Community Leadership Award, again, presented to Pardeep with deepest appreciation 2021. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. Bear with the photo ops. I apologize.
Neither one of us is that pretty.
You make me prettier. Speaking of, and I just want to thank everyone again just for being here tonight, for always supporting, for just being just a wonderful community that you all are. As we were speaking about partnerships, I've been blessed to be in partnership with my wife, and I'd like to invite her up to come and be on stage with me at least. And I'd also like to invite my mom up. Maybe I saw too many guys up here tonight, so I figured we get some women up here. Over the past 10 years, this work has taken a lot out of us, and I say us because nobody does this work alone. Arno has been there for the duration of our journeys and our travels and all of that. The Sikh community, the Sangat, there have been people who have really embraced all of the work that we do. There's no way I can invite all of them up here. At home, a lot of times it takes strong women to be at home and to hold down the family. I have 4 beautiful children. My wife was 7.5 months pregnant at the time when the shooting happened. Our son was born. He's just a beautiful gift. And as much as I could say that we do this work for those that we have lost, I think we do this work for future generations as well. And really, I am embarrassed. I've been standing up here too long. with, with the special agent in charge, and I thank the FBI for the work that they all do, the Department of Justice for the work that they all do. I invite you all to be with us tomorrow night. Invite family, invite your children. Have them understand what this time is all about. I think this is a very special time, and I don't mean to be political. I'm not a political person. But right down the street, 30 minutes away, we have a person who is being investigated by the Department of Justice, who wants to hold a rally the same night that we're holding our rally. And that goes against who we are, what we are, and we have a choice. Your children have a choice. Going forward, they have to decide what type of America they want to see. I want to see one that looks like this room. I want to see one, let's, look around you. Look around you. The Interfaith Conference has embraced religious diversity for 53 years now. You all, look around you. This is the America that we love and we want to see as it goes forward. That's not going to happen without fighting for that. Hate right now, as we've been talking about, has become all too common. The people that are going to join me on stage, right? And it's never to vilify. Right now, there's probably a next wave page out there who is hurting, who is going into some kind of ideology of pain and want to inflict pain on other people because of their race, gender, whatever it is. And we have to do something about that. So all of this that is being said, you all are on the front lines, standing up against hate. You all are on the front lines of contacting the FBI, letting them know, your local law enforcement. Again, I'm starting to preach and I'm getting away from, and I want to just come back and say thank you to the two women that have been in my life, and there's been multiple people that have been in my life, but just really holding it down at home and raising future generations that are also going to fight for the same America that we all want to fight for. So I thank you all. I thank you, the FBI. It may be an award that I can't publicly no, I'm just kidding. I can publicly say it. Listen, when you do intervention work and you start to say that we got an award, no, I'm just kidding. We can say it. We have a great relationship with the FBI. We actually couldn't do our work of off-ramping people if we didn't have trust in law enforcement. We get cases that are referred to us from local FBI agents. So that can't happen. Those relationships happen together. Again, thank you so much. I invite the next panel to kind of come up. So Chris, Mubin, Miriam, and Patrice, please come up, and thank you all. Now you two go sit down. Yeah. Yep. And Kevin? Is Kevin here? Perfect. All right. So I'm going to play something, and it's going to document and journey Chris's story. Chris is going to talk to you a little bit more about his story, his journey. Chris Buckley is a former white supremacist who has served our nation. And when he came back, he joined groups that were hateful. Today, he does the work of intervening and helping those that may be on the same track. And his courage is second to none. So I want to introduce Chris Buckley. Mubin Shaikh is a former Muslim supremacist who does counter-violent extremism work and helps people off-ramp. Both of these men, I've seen them do their work, and it's wonderful to watch the way that they get further upstream with people who are going to do dangerous things. So welcome, Mubin. Miriam is the executive director of Parents for Peace, and Parents for Peace has launched one of the first hotlines for parents who are concerned about their loved ones getting into radicalization. Welcome, Mary. And Patrice O'Neill is the executive director of Not in Our Town, the working group, which does work, and we've done work with them over the years, of developing community-based strategies to prevent violence. A lot of those strategies include working with law enforcement, working with educators, stakeholders, working with neighbors, working with families to figure out how can we stop the cycles of violence. Welcome, Patrice. One of the first things I want to play is Chris's story documenting his life, and I'll go to you, Chris, and I'm going to play just the trailer of it, but you can let people know that it's available and they can see it. How do I project it in there? Oh, got it. Got it. Okay. Oh, this is tricky. How do I do that? I can't see it on my screen. Chris, could you tell us a little bit more about Refuge and your life and the work that you do now?
So Refuge was the byproduct of my journey out of hate and extremism. I lost my best friend and battle buddy in Afghanistan throughout the East and Fort Bell Valley, and I became extremely radicalized. I come home full of hate, hurt, broken. Shortly after, I broke my back in a training accident and was discharged honorably from the military. I didn't know how to be a civilian. I was 13 years as a soldier. And I just got down that rabbit hole, put the back in, they prescribed painkillers, painkillers spiraled me out of control. And, just an emptiness, no source of family or belonging. There's a saying out there that when a warrior doesn't have a mission, he'll create one. And I created my mission to eradicate Islam from the face of this earth. That's all I dreamt about. So, through meeting Arno, I did pretty heavy work, battled with addiction, battled with hate, really just had to figure out what I was coping with, right? I had no idea how to fix myself, but Arno did, right? So he helped me kind of really go into some dark places. The more work I did, the more work I realized that I didn't hate Muslims. I hated what happened on that day. I needed answers. I wanted vengeance. I needed to fight. I just didn't know what I needed to fight for. And there was a community welcoming to help cultivate that hate and water it, help it grow. And eventually, it's really hard to watch that footage. I was allowing my son to inherit my hate. And I had to stop. We've put this off for 200 and some years. The next generation. You know, let's tackle this, let's tackle that. You know, and so I started to just crave more work, and I'm still in the middle of my journey. I'm a broken individual, but I'm working on me. And this is the documentary Refuge, come about through a mutual friend that Arno introduced, Laval Kelly. He was a fellow at Emory University when I met him, and become such a positive influence. So this documents that journey. I'm not going to tell you about the movie. You're going to have to go see it. But now I work with Parents for Peace because during my journey, I was, like I said, I had to have my fight. I needed my war, and this is it. Providing exit paths, helping the broken find where they're broken and heal, so that they no longer need the extremism. They no longer need to hate. They can learn to love themselves and be able to love everybody else in the process.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And I think I speak for all of us that we thank you for choosing that fight of peace, and we thank you for your work. Mubin, you've also lived a life of faith, and now work with individuals to try to get them to exit, to get them to off-ramp. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum, shalom aleichem, and the English greeting, of course, peace be with you. Very, very quickly, so my story is I was 19. I ended up traveling to Quetta in Pakistan, near the federal administered tribal areas of Afghanistan. Met the Taliban while I was there, became enamored by them. The phrase I use is I was bit by the jihadi bug. I don't like the term jihadi. I mean, jihad is a legitimate war tradition that has rules of engagement. What terrorism is to jihad, what war crimes are to ROEs, or rules of engagement. Or basically, it's like terrorism is to jihad what adultery is to marriage. And so through my 20s, for about 5 years, from 1995 to the 9/11 attacks, I became increasingly radicalized to the point where basically I became a takfiri. Takfiri is just basically everybody is going to hell except me, right? Very simple. And I was in that mindset, and I, didn't like Jews and even other Muslims, of course, and even Sikhs, of course. And then, alhamdulillah, I came back to earth because I was living in the skies for too long. And really, what the Sikh community has shown everywhere, anywhere the Sikh community goes. I'm from Canada. In the 80s, in the 1980s, the Sikhs were being beat up all the time. in British Columbia, Vancouver. And they really, I could even remember, I was a kid, but the stories of how the Sikh community responded to has always been a positive thing. And Pardeep is a great representative, really, because Pardeep and I work on this case. This guy is he's a white kid converted when he was 17, became extremist, ended up getting caught in a sting operation. He was going to basically, join ISIS or go to Yemen or something like this. And this kid is so hard, was very rigid ideologically. And to have, Pardeep with us, and every time I'm talking to him, I'm speaking to him as a Muslim, and Pardeep's always saying, well, in the Sikh tradition, So it's funny to see the young guy like squirm a little bit, or like, oh, he doesn't want to hear about Sikh, but Pardeep told a very good story that now I tell the story everywhere, so I'm gonna get it totally wrong, but I'll get the basics right. It's a Sikh guru, and he's seeing the Hindu Pandit fasting, and he sees the Muslim fasting. And he asked them, so why are you doing this? And they said that, oh, we're doing this to get close to God. And he said, no, you're just starving yourself. You want to get close to God, you serve people. And even in the Muslim tradition, or at least in some of the, some people have said that with ibadah, with worship, you get Jannah, you get paradise. But with khidmah, service, you get Allah. You get God Himself. So even in the beginning, when I start with peace be with you, and we say assalamu alaikum, shalom aleichem, whatever, we really, what are we talking about when we say peace be with you? Is it just a slogan that we just say? We do say that as Muslims. We say, oh, assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. But nobody really thinks and contemplates on that. So in the work that we're doing now, like even for us, it's still a journey. I mean, I think much further down the journey, but every time we revisit these things, it's like opening up an old wound. But we kind of use the gift of our wounds, the name of Pardeep's book, if you haven't read it, read it. And we use our superpowers for good now. So I went through a radicalized period. I ended up working for the government, counterterrorism, counter-extremism, did a lot of anti-ISIS activities from 2012 to 2018, mostly for the US military. In the Islamic tradition, the Prophet ﷺ talked about zealots. They're called, in the Islamic term, it's khawarij. The khawarij are basically terrorists, the zealots. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said that, they will come quoting the Quran. There's one hadith where one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, he said that when the Prophet was warning them about the Khawarij, he was saying that you would belittle even your own prayer and fasting in front of them, because they were hyper worshippers. They went overboard. So I did a lot of activities, we'll call them, in support of that fight. So now, today, with this amazing team that we have, I mean, Arno, we're going to keep pointing to Arno because Arno is the guy. I met him in 2011. I remember, thinking about or starting to do this counter-extremism stuff, and I thought, like, I'm the only one out there. And there was this huge conference, and we all ended up in Dublin, Ireland, and they brought extremists or former extremists from different categories. So like ultra-nationalists, white supremacists, what they call Islamists, and even urban street gang members, comparing how people got into the groups that they got into and what got them out of these groups. And Arno actually reached out to me, and I jumped on a Skype with Chris. And at that time, like, I could see Chris's face, like, who is this guy? And now look, Chris is my brother. Chris and I, we work together, like, we're brothers. So this is some of the work that we do. We're doing direct interventions with young people, and again, like we say, we're using our superpowers for good, that when we do talk to them, we can say, yeah, I understand, I've been there. And when they do say something like, you know, rude or insensitive or whatever, we eat it. We are like these converters. We take that negative, we forcibly convert. That's the only time you can forcibly convert anyone. We turn it around and we try to put good back inside them.
You evangelize them with love, huh?
Well, I'm trying. You know I'm trying, right?
I know you're trying.
Sometimes I'm tough on them because for me, of course, as a Muslim, like I don't like what these people have done and what image they portray about Islam. But let me just close with this: is that I'm really honored to be with the Sikh community because the example that you have shown everywhere is phenomenal. I'm not just saying this because I'm here and you should say nice things about the community. No. Seriously, the good that we have seen is such an inspiration to people. And, you know, Sikhs have borne more of the brunt of hatred of, you know, people who think you're Muslims. They go, turban and beard and brown, yep, must be Muslim. Right? More Sikhs have been killed than Muslims have been killed since 9/11. And just the way in which you have shown, you're leading by example, showing by example. It's not a small thing. People are touched around the world. It's 10 years now. Some things have gone away, some things are still there. But that impact that you're having on people everywhere, it's immeasurable. So keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mubin. And thank you for the work you do. Now, thank you so much. And that young man that Mubin is speaking about is in a much better place, a much healthier place today. And so one of the things is to let you know that this work is possible. That next suffering, miserable person out there, right? And we can say it, like the way Wade Page was born in this country. He was once a child. I mean, there's a lot of, we can vilify him all we want, but I'd rather look at what has caused the Wade Pages of the world and then go further upstream. We made a pact a long time ago. Arno and I made a pact. We knew that this work was possible shortly after Arno and I met. And we started to meet young men. And we started to see and say, we can help this person. And this wasn't anything that was documented by anybody. But we started to see some of that happening, like, hey, like this person is redeemable. And that's why we wanted to add this part, because we do need to believe that these young men, especially men that are going through this, are redeemable. And Miriam, you founded Parents for Peace, or you were inspired to found Parents for Peace, or the executive director of Parents for Peace. Could you tell us a little bit about the redeemability of these young men? No, you don't have to.
Okay. So first of all, thank you for having us here. And you know, it's such an honor to work with you, Pardeep, you know, as a team. We've known each other for a while. And I'm very much honored to work with this just incredible team of first responders. Emma is here, Arno is here, David is there, my colleagues here. So we are a team of first responders. And just a bit of me. I was born in Morocco. I'm biracial. I'm Muslim and Christian from my mother. And I have experienced what hate was. So as a little girl, I was a recipient, of what it feels to be who I was. And in the 70s, it was a little complicated to be a half Muslim, half Christian. But the question I have asked myself my whole life is why people hurt others and hurt themselves. So it was, a question I've asked for many times, and I'm sure that I've been a psychotherapist because of that question. And when I was in Paris during the Charlie Hebdo attack, I just felt like, how is it possible that those young kids, everybody said they were nice, and and they have shot all those people. How is it possible? So when I joined Parents for Peace, as a therapist, I want to help, but I wasn't really sure where to start. And in 2016, what I did is I took a road trip to really go meet those family members of a loved one that is an extremist. Many of their loved ones were dead, because they were fighting overseas with hate groups. And so I traveled in the United States, in Canada, and in Europe, in North Africa. And I came back startled because, first of all, I didn't know that those family members, I was very judgmental. I was thinking, who are those monsters and who are their parents? That was my fear and my anger. And I came back meeting those incredible family members who really did everything they could for their children. And it's not that they didn't try to find help, they did. But they couldn't find anyone to help them. Law enforcement said, well, look, there's no crime, what can we do? Teachers didn't know what to do. Therapists didn't want to really touch it. So it ended up being a successful radicalization that ended up not very well. So that was the epiphany for me on saying, so what is missing is this very early moment when family members, when someone sees that something is wrong in their house. And there was no services. So it was very clear that we had to launch the helpline. The very first helpline in the United States, there was 0. I just couldn't believe that. How is it possible? So we put together as a team an intake protocol, a helpline that was based on those family members inside and former supremacists. Actually, Arno and Mubin were the first people that really educated me. And how much I could see the similarities in different supremacies. I mean, all as a team, sometimes we have someone that is one supremacist and transform into another one and another one, so it's a really complicated. Then we realized that it's really odd. Extremism is acting like a drug of choice, like a coping mechanism. A very destructive one, like someone is going to pick up the booze or the drugs, but it really acts the same way. And so, knowing all this information, we start kind of putting some information together. And I think that now we know that after a mass shooting, we always almost find out that somebody knew something. We know that. We know that. And so the helpline was to be able to build relationship and trust with family members, teachers, coaches, so they can reach out to us as soon as possible so we can avoid what happened 10 years ago. And that's why we are working so hard to do this. I think law enforcement earlier were talking about, help us, reach out to us. Well, actually, this is what we do because our warning system is made out of people, human beings, because in the house there is always someone that knows something. So that's what that we have been doing in interventions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Miriam. And could you just give the number really quickly for people that are?
Oh my God, I don't have it.
I'll give it 1-844-49-PEACE. If somebody is concerned about a loved one who is getting radicalized, who may be dangerous, you can call that number. We will go through an intake process and try to help that person get out or off ramp from hate. Thank you so much, Miriam. Patrice, you're right, we don't clap after these, right? It's like, we should have clapped. That's some good work. So, Patrice O'Neill is the Executive Director of Not in Our Town. And most of you know who Patrice is because after Oak Creek happened, her and her crew took a plane, came over here, and did some of the best video journalism that I have ever seen in my life. And we have utilized Waking in Oak Creek over the past 10 years to talk to, I don't know how many towns?
3,500 requests for the film across the country.
So that's why we're tired sometimes. So this work, how was it inspired? And I also want to show you, 4 years ago in Pittsburgh, a Tree of Life synagogue was attacked. And one of the newest projects that we will be working with is a film on Tree of Life. So if I can show just a little bit of that film, and then I think that all of you can give your contact information so people can know how to get a hold of you. But could you talk a little bit about Not in Our Town?
I will be brief. I'm very aware that I'm the last person speaking for our program. But we are going to end with a movie, so such Nicole, I'm so happy to be here in Oak Creek. And Not in Our Town started with a film we did about people in Billings, Montana standing up to hate. And the name of the film was Not in Our Town, and people started looking at that model. What can each of us do to stand up to hate? and then taking it on and making it their own. And we have been following that story for the past 25-something years. And Oak Creek was part of that journey. We got a call the day after the attack. Obviously, we were monitoring what was happening, and we got a call from the city, one of the folks I think are here tonight, saying, what should we do? And they started telling us what they were doing. And we said, of course, you need to reach out to the community. And she said, oh no, we're all over it. And they are engaging with us. And the leadership from this community was so incredibly inspiring. We immediately decided that we had to document this story and begin the process of Waking Oak Creek. The film's available for free, NIAT.org/Waking Oak Creek. All of our resources are available for free. Please use them. United Against Hate Week, join us for that. I hope you become involved. And I wanted to show part of Waking again, and part of you said, no, we've seen it, right? We've seen that film, but I think we're all very moved by what happened in Pittsburgh and the new film that we have just released called Repairing the World, Stories from the Tree of Life. And Pardeep wanted us to show this and to hopefully we'll have a screening here in Wisconsin very soon to begin this discussion. And I just want to say one thing about it. So Waking and what happened here in Wisconsin was this great unlocking of what happens when a community that has been so harmed takes the lead and calls on and is joined by the entire community in a significant and inspiring way. I think that's what the story we're able to tell. That is the story that you have continued to live for 10 years. In what happened in Pittsburgh reflects some of the horrific trauma that you've been through, but also the complexities of this moment. We are in so much trouble. I think everyone's been talking about that today. Our country, we're divided. Hate is rising. There have been over 100 people murdered in the past 10 years in hate crime attacks. It's unbelievable. I don't think we could have imagined that. And so this is about the Pittsburgh community, an American city, responding to the complexity of our time, hate speech, gun violence, the divisions over faith and racism. And so I hope you get a chance to see it, and I'm so honored to be with you today and this weekend. And thank you for inviting me, Pardeep, and for the ability to continue to learn from you as we carry on this work.
Thank you.
I didn't hear the shots the first time. I hear them all the time now. And I suspect I'm not alone. So many of us, whether Jewish or not, whether from Squirrel Hill or not, whether in Pittsburgh that morning or not, hear those shots still. They were the modern-day shots heard around the world. The opening shots in our contemporary crisis of hurt and hate.
Suspects talk about all these Jews need to die.
I become frustrated about what I can do as an elected leader in a city that has now witnessed the worst anti-Semitic attack in American history.
It's not just about anti-Semitism. It was an attack on America. Its foundation is hate.
White supremacy, white nationalism, and racism are national security threats.
The story of what's happened in Pittsburgh starts with some of the worst pain that you can imagine. And it ends with some of the best and closest relationships that I could have ever hoped for.
We will work together as one. We will defeat hate with love. We will be a city of compassion, welcoming to all people, no matter what your religion or where your family came from on this earth or your status.
Torah is referred to as a tree of life. It's the source of who we are as Jews. "11 beautiful lives were cut down in our synagogue. But we're a tree of life. More leaves will grow back. More branches will grow back. We're not letting hate close our doors, ever."
Thank you for all that you did to create that, and I think that there's something that we can take away from all of that, to create that project. And I really do hope that we have another 3,500 showings, not because we want to be able to show that film to show the misery of it, but we want to show the reality that when something bad happens, community like this comes together and galvanizes. And as long as we are breathing and good people are breathing, right? As long as we get a heartbeat, we all have hope. And I think that that's what you shine that light in these films. Chris, coming back to you quickly, I know that we gotta get going, we gotta wrap up the program. What is something that we can do to kind of combat hate?
I think education surrounding it, understanding that what you see isn't what it is. It's a foreign language, as Miriam describes it. So, when somebody is exhibiting signs of hate or extremism, try to figure out what they're really saying, right? There's always deeper. And when you peel those layers away, you start to get to the root of the problem, right?
So essentially listen to their opinion.
Yeah. I would say that when we stare out at another human being, we have the obligation to find ourselves in them. And when we realize that we're all interconnected, we'll go to great lengths to help somebody suffering.
And Mubin, what can we do to combat hate?
Easy question, right?
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah, I like the tree of life and repairing the world, tikkun olam, right? And if I can use that analogy, the tree has to be watered. The tree has to have a good environment in which it's rooted. So you, the community, we, the community, we are the earth into which that tree is planted. If the earth is corrupted, if the earth is poisoned, negative, dark, then the tree won't grow. So in order to combat hate, you have to plant the right trees in the right environment. So be the people who plant good things, and that they give good things to the people and even the animals. And using the analogy of the tree, there's actually a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, so even the one who grows a plant and the animals eat from it, there is a reward in that. So just take that analogy to us animals, the humans, and feed good things to them, and good things will come.
Thank you. Mary? Same easy question.
I'm going to be very pragmatic. Actually, I have an answer for that. What we have been able to invent together, the intervention that are successful, we need a really serious funding to help us go to the next level. Because the reality is we cannot help everyone. It's too much for us. You need to help us do the work that we do. So that's my answer.
Yeah, we can't do that for free. Yeah, funding.
Right?
We need funding, we need support, right? Trees?
I was thinking about your remark, and Wasi Muhammad, one of the key people in this film, who was very supportive of the Jewish community, talked about the soil, not just the tree, but the soil. Where's the soil? And you have been cultivating healthy soil here. And that is what our part in this fight against hate is all about, not in our town. How do we create communities that can resist hate, that can be healthy? It's prevention. How do we get to people before there is a need for an intervention? How do we create those relationships and connections with each other so that we can prevent hate from happening? And that means really starting when kids are super young and having them go and understand that this is who we are as a community. We take care of each other, we support each other, and you are showing that here. We saw that in Pittsburgh, and that is what every community can do. And so that is what our work is about with Not in Our Town. I hope you get involved. United Against Hate Week is coming up this year. It's something we started with cities in the Bay Area, and it's spreading across the country. It's November 7th to the 20th. And so we hope you will join us. And thank you so much, Satri, to call, and just so happy to be with you.
Thank you so much, and I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I want to thank Meg Garecki, Melissa Rogers, Paul Montero, the mayor, Dr. Kulwant Dhaliwal, Richard Foiling, John Chisholm, Special Agent in Charge, Michael, good friend, thank you for the award, Lieutenant Ryan Murphy, Marcus Coleman, Bill Nash, Ahmed Qureshi, Pastor Walter Lanier, Ari Friedman. I want to thank everyone on this panel here today. And again, I want to thank you for continuing the work that has started 10 years ago. And I invite everyone to come out tomorrow night. And again, pray with us, be with us, just join us. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Old guys, right. 65. It's not late. Yeah, just